one of the most difficult types is the intuitive introvert. He has intuitions as to the subjective factor, namely the inner world, very difficult to understand. Because what he sees are most uncommon things. He doesn't like to talk of them, if he's not a fool.
Nietzsche once wrote, quote, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster himself." End quote. Dear Dr. Peterson, I hope this public letter reaches you at least in some capacity. Though I only speak for myself, I hope to also give voice to the people who found you in your old days on YouTube. For context, and to offer some credibility, I have watched all through your 2014, 15, and 16 personality lecture series in your Toronto University days. In fact, those lectures inspired me to study psychology, and I am now starting my master's degree. I also finished your Maps of Meaning lecture series and read the book as well. I also read both the 12 Rules for Life books and engaged in many hours of your content via podcasts or clips on YouTube. I am declaring all of this not to flatter you, but to show my genuine interest in your work and to support my ability to discuss your current public image. I feel a jarring difference in your communication if I jump from your old lectures to your recent public appearances.
Now, who in the world is that? That's Carl Jung. My goddamn government came out the other day, those bloody liberals.
You come across as angrier and more frustrated. I understand that you're entrenched in a culture war and publicity has visibly taken its toll on you and brought you a lot of shit, which at times you sound resentful about, although you've warned others against this emotion.
How much do you know about me? I didn't lie to save my career. I didn't lie to save my clinical practice.
Of course, naturally, I personally don't have any idea about your life or your experience, or the amount of criticism levied your way through all this time. However, if the other side wants to portray you as an old, angry, bitter, resentful right-wing ideologue, then you're playing right into their hand. If we rewind the clock, what made you famous in the first place was your calmness and sober composure when facing the likes of Cathy Newman or Helen Lewis.
However, it is the only thing that you get paid for under capitalism.
Ha, gotcha.
In essence, your best qualities shined forth. Strong verbal ability, patience, balance, and reasonableness. Your other appearances reflected your best trait as professor, synthesizing, distilling, connecting highly abstract and difficult ideas and explaining them in approachable ways that highlight their meaning and importance.
So that's a good example of how our fundamental assumptions can be challenged at any moment and how a fact can turn from a fact into a clear fallacy.
Basically, you made philosophy and psychology accessible and practical to people who otherwise would not have any contact with it. I think your career is built on this foundation, which is why critics relentlessly and constantly attack this point, especially so-called intellectuals. Now, however, much of that clarity seems lost in translation. Your critics often don't understand you, and even for your longtime followers, it is getting harder to understand what you're getting at. When I watch this clip, for example,
I don't think the category of dragon is any less valid than the category of lion.
Any less biological?
Well, it depends on your level of analysis.
I do get your meaning, but only because I engaged with your lectures. For anyone else, this is likely incomprehensible, perhaps scattered or even alienating. And your frustration in that clip might indicate that you feel this way as well. Look, you warned against resentment and ideology, saying that a clear sign of it is knowing beforehand what a person will say in any given conversation.
And this is why I consider it a manifestation of ideological possession. It's predictable.
Yet, how many answers of yours nowadays start with psychopaths and narcissists or the radical left? That repetition can sound ideological in itself. It also seems you have a harder time listening and empathizing with people now.
Which is making you feel social pain.
Right.
You don't feel that if you have psychopathic tendencies.
Yes, and then, well, and if that pain doesn't make itself, like, I think that
You often seem less interested in the other person's point of view. You come off as more combative, perhaps rushing to get your message across under pressure and stress, as if under siege, which, to be fair, perhaps you are, but it is still working against you. I already mentioned the other side, but what side is it truly? Is the solution really to draw lines in the sand and embrace polarization and add to it? I hope that people like you would rather be bridges, would be brave yet humble voices of calm and wisdom, arguing and verbalizing their points amidst all of this chaos.
No one? One? Just 3 people? Okay, well, that's probably not good.
However, with your recent dive into politics and business, you increasingly seem like a persona, like a branded figure rather than a person. I remember your decision against studying politics in your youth, and perhaps that was not without reason. You warned against alarmists, yet I regularly encounter clips of you warning about the doom of Western civilization.
like, I think the gatekeepers have abandoned the gates. Like, terrorist radicals take over the university. The universities, I think, are beyond salvaging.
What happened to your good nature?
Certainly risk offending me, and that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
You fought against triggered people with a smile, but that smile is vanishing now. I quoted Nietzsche at the start of the letter, not without reason, for I know you know this quote too. In essence, I think that quote encapsulates perfectly the arc of your public journey. Look, whatever you have to say, which I know at bottom is well-meaning and good, is simply not getting across. And it saddens me because we need voices to talk about symbolism, faith, and meaning. Perhaps it is not always just onwards and upwards. Perhaps there's also something to be said about the element of the garden, which must be maintained with patience, humility, and love. To be fair, it's hard to estimate how much reels, shorts, and clips and the algorithms behind them distort anyone's image, not just yours, and is adding to this situation. But that is a topic for another day. To close, I will add my favorite clip of yours, which I think encapsulates you well as a person as seen by your followers. As for myself, I hope you find ways to reconnect with your roots, with your best traits, and to bring people together and not apart.
Narcissism, and then, like, he just punched through that. It wasn't even there.
Young people need role models and not moral lecturers wagging their finger at them, and I know you know this. I hope this letter did not miss the target. Sincerely yours, Augustus.
We better stop before that girl comes in. It was very nice having you all in the class, and I appreciated the warm welcome I got, especially in January, because it was a rough time in January, and so I'm glad this all worked out so well, and it was a pleasure teaching you. So good luck to you all. I mean it. Be what you can be. God, you let the world dissolve around you otherwise. That's not a good thing. You've got something that everyone needs, man, including yourself. It's like, let it out. That's where everything you want is. And it's the case for every single one of you. So, you know, hoist up your goddamn privilege and go out there and do something in the world. See ya.